Welcome to Over 50 and Frank, the podcast that says the quiet parts out loud. I'm Shannon, also known as Frank when I drop the filter. Around here, we talk about aging, menopause, wellness, and life after 50 with honesty, humor, and zero apologies. If you're over 50 and craving real talk, pull up a chair and share with a friend. Today, we're talking about something that can surprisingly feel hard, getting on camera after 45. Whether it's noticing changes in your face, your body, your confidence, or just hearing that voice in your head telling you you're too old, a lot of women hold themselves back before even hitting record on their phone. In this episode, we talk about what's really behind the hesitation, how to move through it, and why being visible matters now more than ever. If you're thinking about showing up online, sharing your voice, or starting something new, but this is keeping you from doing it, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in. I'm back with Marnie, and we're talking about our favorite topic, being on camera after 45. And a little background on me is I have a broadcasting degree that I used for a whole 9 months, and then I got into marketing and spent 20 years in marketing behind the camera. And then all of a sudden started my own business, and everybody said, you need to be in front of the camera, you need to be creating videos, you need to be promoting yourself on LinkedIn. And I begrudgingly started doing that and then began to teach people how to get on camera. And then in 2023, which would have been 48 years old, I started doing UGC content creation completely by accident. And then Marnie, what is your story about how did you become a lady of a certain age on camera?
On camera. So I've been doing marketing for 20 years or so. And, I've been out there, I was huge on MySpace. I was a very early influencer, but that was never on video. That was all photos, right? I basically started at, 50. I said I was going to do this thing, and then I had to figure it out on how to be on camera, how to speak clearly, and how to film myself, and how to even look at myself. But yeah, so it's almost 2 years now that I've been doing this, and it has completely shifted my life. So yeah, that's how I began this on camera thing.
Well, when I was 42 and had to start a business, I shouldn't say I got to start a business. I didn't really have the time to network because my kids were a lot smaller. And so we're talking 9 years ago. So they were 8 and 4 at the time. So I couldn't spend a lot of time networking. So people suggested hey, you should make some videos. And that was before people were making videos. So this is 2018. And I went to Boston. I don't know if you've ever seen Sue Zimmerman. I don't know if she's around anymore. She probably is around. She's the Instagram expert. She held this class that you could go take, and I went and took it, and I met all these people, and we basically challenged each other to start making a video every week. Doing the Instagram stories is a great way to kind of get started on camera because it goes away in 24 hours, or Snapchat. But she said, get in your Instagram stories and, make one under 1 minute video every week, teaching something. And so I took that broadcasting background that I never hardly ever used and put it into play. So when I started doing UGC, or when I started documenting my whole weight loss journey on TikTok, it was easy for me. And people were like, oh my God, that is so cringe. They didn't say I was cringe. They were saying how that's very cringy, that you're doing that. But thank you for doing that, because it makes me want to go try X, Y, and Z too. So many women just hate seeing themselves on camera. So why do you think that is?
I'm going to go back because in my early teens, 20s, I was a model. And then in my 30s, I was a photographer. And if you're in that industry, you know that you might take 100 pictures and get 2 that are good. Okay. So the rest are going to look like, you're just completely awful at varying degrees of that. So that, is in my head when I think of that, because as a photographer, I always had to tell people to relax, because I'm going to take so many pictures and we're going to find the one that captures who you are. When you're on video, you get all of it at once. And yeah, the problem is when you're aging, all of that really hits you when you see it reflected back at you, when you have to look at the footage, when you have to see yourself. The things that you see in the mirror are not the same as what you see on that video or in a photo. And it's shocking.
Well, and also the biggest thing I used to tell people because when I started my business and I started making videos and posting them on LinkedIn, I just would do one a week. And then after like 3 months, nobody's really engaging with them. But like one day I was at a networking event and somebody came up to me and said, I really loved that advice about Instagram. And I was like, oh, where did you see that? And they're like, LinkedIn, you made a video. And I was like, oh, because sometimes you're like making this stuff and putting out in the void. And in the beginning, you're not getting a lot of engagement. Even in our ad agency, we tell people like, you're going to start making these thought leadership videos and it may be 6 months before somebody comments. They think like the second you put it out, like you're going to get all these comments. People are unsure if you're going to keep coming back. And so you have to be consistent with it. But it's like climbing cringe mountain. Like the first UGC video I ever did, awful compared to the ones I do now. And I tell people like I used filters in the beginning. Things like the lighting was bad. I didn't cut off the first 2 seconds of the video, which is I see these things now and I'm just like, hey, if you're going to start making any sorts of videos, here's like the 5 things you need to do, like right off the bat. But I look back and I'm like, I told people this years ago, like you have to climb cringe mountain. I had to tell myself I have to climb cringe mountain.
Yeah.
Kind of like, if this is something you desire to do, you have to do it. A lot of people ask, probably you on TikTok, and I get asked all the time, like, how do you get started in UGC? And I just am like, open the phone and shoot. Like that's just, if you are showing up consistently, it may take you 3 months, may take you 6 months, but if it's something you desire to do, you have to play the part, even though you don't feel the part. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, you become the thing by doing the thing. And thinking about doing the thing is not going to get you anywhere. So if you get stuck in that phase of like, oh, I need to research this and I need to research that and I need to learn how to script and I need to do that, you're never going to get to the camera part. So just start recording and you'll learn along the way. That's the beauty of it, is that especially in UGC, you're actually getting paid to learn because you get paid from the beginning. Maybe not a lot, you're learning.
You have to kiss some frogs before you get the or the king to the king. Do you remember the first time you posted a video and thought, oh wow, people are actually going to watch this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I haven't had anything go like super viral, but some things have popped off and yeah, it's super exciting. But the thing that really surprised me is just like, wow, like people are connecting to this. And that is really interesting to have that connection and go like, oh wow, this resonates. Yeah, it kind of makes you feel like you're on the right track.
When I first started posting on TikTok about GLP-1s, I was just every week like, here's my weekly update, here's my midweek update. But I also didn't want to fall into the trap of this is the only thing I am. But then it kind of became the only thing that people wanted from me. And then you realize, oh great, I want to build community and I'm going through this thing and there's other people going through it. I guess it's really not that bad to fall into this like little box area of this is what I'm all about. The thing about that I've learned about things like TikTok and Instagram is that if you pop off for like a certain topic, for example, I made a video about how I was putting my estrogen patch on wrong and I didn't realize for like a whole year and a half I was doing it wrong. It basically was touching it when I wasn't supposed to be touching it. And I made this video and all these people were like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that. And then there were like a small percentage that were kind of mean about it. But then I made another video I basically took the questions and said, somebody said this in here and I never thought about that. And so it's like this endless content loop of stuff. That's how I've had traction on those platforms, is when people glom onto one thing I talk to and it's like over and over and over, like you just go in and redo the comments. When I talk about UGC, people want to know more about UGC. So I just decided to stop talking about it because I just don't have a desire to train folks on it. But I do like to give like that like monthly update. So when somebody wants to first get involved with becoming on camera or building a personal brand or doing UGC, what's your advice for somebody that is worried about how they look or sound?
I can look back and I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I sounded. And, I noticed all of these really unattractive habits I had, just things I would do while I was talking or face expressions I would make. I was frowning a lot or like grimacing a lot. Having gone through the process of filming myself over and over, which it kind of opens up this window of detachment. You get this kind of detachment from that image of yourself and you can look at yourself as, someone else. And it's almost like you're going and having an MRI on your personality. Just think of it, I guess, as a process. And you will learn your best angle. You will find the best lighting. Like, you can help yourself with filters in the beginning. I look back and I'm like, holy crap, that doesn't even look like me, because I was using so many filters just to make myself feel comfortable. It was a crutch. And now I'm like, it's all good, right? I'll still use them, but not like I was.
Oh, yeah. I actually turned it off recently, the beauty filter on TikTok.
Yeah. But, you do what you have to do it, right? In the beginning. If you have to put on a ton of makeup, if you have to use the filters, whatever makes you feel comfortable so that you can just do the thing, and then the rest will follow.
How has your relationship with makeup, skincare, and hair care and hair products changed since starting?
Complete, I have a skincare routine, I have a hair care routine, I have makeup down, so well, just because I've been able to, try all of these products that I wouldn't have spent the money for. So yeah, I, prior to doing UGC, probably did Botox and filler like a couple times a year. I have done nothing since. And it's all I feel like I look better than I did. I know I look better than I did because of the skincare, because I'm taking care of myself. And it's a complete makeover. Being on camera gave me a makeover.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I had my skincare routine down. I didn't exactly have my hair care routine down, but my makeup, the way I did makeup, greatly improved to the point where it takes me like 5 minutes now to do it. I just like the natural look. So for me, I just have the natural look down to a science. And now that I have discovered so many things that I love that I was never doing before now, that I'm just kind of like, where was this before? I just now have my routine is set. What do you say to the woman that says, I'll start when I do X, Y, and Z, like lose weight, get Botox? What do you say to the woman that's waiting for that?
So I have a friend, and she's been saying that since we were 13, when she loses another 10 pounds, when she loses another 15 pounds, and we're in our 50s now, and I don't want to call her out on it, but, how many things have you not done now because you keep saying that to yourself? And, when you look back at pictures, I look back and go, oh my gosh, I thought I was this, I thought I was that. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I was gorgeous. Why did I think that about myself? Why am I holding myself back? Really, your life is now. So why are you going to put that cage around yourself?
I feel like I look better now than I did 10 years ago. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's because I've taken care of things better, but I also feel like that if you wait, something's going to happen. Like something bad's going to happen. So I have friends that definitely are like, I want to do this, but they're not doing it. Like if you want to do something, you have to basically take the steps to do it. I fell into UGC content creation, and I fell into it because I was making videos already, and I didn't really know it was a thing until somebody pointed out oh, that's what you're doing. There's this whole thing. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to start doing this. It just kind of happened. But I was already making videos and putting myself online for years. So one thing that you said was you feel like content creation is therapeutic. What do you mean by that?
So I think when you are creating content and you're putting yourself out in the world in an authentic way, and you're looking at yourself all the time, you're looking at your videos, it becomes, I touched on it before, that you become a little more detached. You're not so concerned with every little thing being perfect about what you do. But it's also very much about accepting yourself as you are and finding value in your story as you are. And that's one beautiful thing about UGC, because, at a time when I was like, oh my gosh, am I even hireable anymore? I found out brands were going to pay me for the exact thing that I thought I was not hireable. They're going to pay me. And I actually, the funny thing is, it's I actually have purchased gray wigs because I'm like, oh wow, I could get paid more money if I had gray hair, if I had more wrinkles. I'm like, I don't have enough wrinkles. I can't get that job, right? So in that way, it's been very therapeutic for me. And, I have so much more confidence. I have so much more value in myself from going through this process of seeing myself on camera all the time.
You know what's really in demand? I had an agency I work with a lot tell me this, being over the age of 60. a woman over
Yes.
the age of 60 is in high demand for UGC content creation because they have the gray hair and the wrinkles. But what they're saying is they just can't find, and like we know one person, Linda Wolf. Like there's not a lot out there. So if you're over 60 and you want to get into content creation, there's a market there for that.
I just have to put in one thing. The problem is you have to have the age and you have to have the technical ability, right? So you have to know how to edit footage. You have to know how to light yourself. You know, I have a friend and she has really bad eyesight. So whenever she's filming, like everything's out of focus. So, you know, it's two. One, we can't find somebody that's 60, and one, we can't find somebody that's 60 that knows how to do this stuff.
Yes, but I feel like you can learn those things.
Yeah.
Here's my trick. If you are a woman over the age of 60 and you want to get anybody, if you're a certain age, you want to get into content creation. I went to this creator house a year and a half ago in California, and we met so many content creators. We were the oldest ones there. It was like Gen Z to Gen X, and my husband and I were the oldest of the crew. And there was a guy that was like an elder millennial, and he really wanted to get into UGC. He was already doing it, but he was also an actor in LA, and he was like, maybe this is what I need to be doing because I can't get the acting gigs. You know, I can't get the acting gigs that I want, and I want to become an actor. And he's like, but my hang up is editing. And I was like, go on Fiverr and find somebody to edit your videos. So I have somebody that edits my videos. They edit my podcasts, all my UGC. I will edit some things, but 90% of the time it's him. And I'm just like, go. I even gave him the name of my person, and now he's doing UGC full time, and he uses the same person I do. So everything is, for me, it's like everything is figure outable. Like, yeah, you have to figure out how to script, and then sometimes the scripts get sent to you. So then you kind of learn, like you said, you learn by doing it. Like you're like, oh, okay, like they're sending me a script, and this is how you write the script, and things like that. I mean, I use a little bit of Chat GPT, but it's mostly like, you know, here's what I want to say, and here's what I don't want to say. Like I have my personal GPT kind of, you know, prompt set up to what I do, but it's like everything kind of is figure outable. So if you don't know how to edit, you find somebody on Fiverr. That's what I always say. Like there's always I always have some answer to that. Let's get into lightning round. We're gonna wrap this up. I could talk about this for hours. Like we'd talk about this on our agency's podcasts and social medias. All right, finish the sentence. The first thing women over 45 should do about being on camera is
just do it. Press
Nike.
play.
Open the phone and record. The beauty product I reach for most often is
Lip gloss.
Yep, I knew you were gonna say that.
I have it right here. This is actually a lip oil.
This one is the Westmore Beauty like plumper.
This one is what is this? Monica Blunder Sweet Talk Lip Oil. This is like my new fave. I love it. I love it.
Ooh, where'd you get it?
It was like in a UGC package as like just a like, hey, we're throwing this into, but I never was hired for it, and I love them.
Okay, last one. The biggest mistake people on camera make is
Blanking. No, I'm sorry. Overthinking it.
Yeah, overthinking it.
Yeah,
Yep, I love
overthinking it. Just do it again.
Yeah, just do it. All right. Thank you for coming on. Have you on again soon.
Thanks.
And you can find her at Marnie Creates on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks so much for listening to Over 50 and Frank. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd follow the show, leave a review, or share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. You can find links, resources, and everything we talked about in the show notes. I'm Shannon, and I'll be back next week with more candid conversations about style, wellness, and life after 50.